Section 1. Acting 101. Introduction. Recall yourself as a child, volunteering to act scenes from your favourite stories for family and friends. Remember how great you felt as they cheered you on. Remember how, as you got older, you continued to pursue your interest, joining drama clubs and acting in plays. Before you knew it, you had your first big break. The director made you the star of the spring play. Your confidence grew until you finally realised that this is what you want to do for a living. The fame and fortune that comes with acting is enticing. You can't help but think that it won't be long until you're just as good and rich as any of them on film and television. Well, I hate to tell you this, but it takes a little more than wishful thinking. Acting history in a nutshell. Let's have a brief lesson about the history of acting. While the story of contemporary acting begins in the 19th century, it is believed that acting as a profession began far earlier, developing with science and other art in Egypt as early as 4000 BC. Ancient Egyptians staged performances to commemorate lost loved ones and entertain royalty. Acting was tradition in ancient Greece as well. The Greeks hailed Thespis, who developed impersonation, or simply imitating another person's character and behaviour. Most actors played several roles with the help of intricate costumes and masks, and many performances involved movement to display emotion and dance. Since these shows were put on in huge open-air theatres, it was difficult for actors to amplify their voices with masks covering their faces, so the focus of acting at this point focused more on body movement instead of dialogue. The Greek love of acting was transferred to Roman culture, evolving an emphasis on speech delivery and the use of voice to indicate emotions. Acting became more professional with the emergence of commedia dell'arte in the 16th century in the country now known as Italy, which was an interesting time as actors improvised scenarios. England's stages opened to more strict and well-defined work during the Elizabethan era, where writers like Shakespeare wrote plays that included complicated, structured, and heavily developed characters. All through acting history, techniques and methods were constantly morphing into something more complicated, giving us the rich styles and abilities we use in acting today. Modern acting techniques. Method acting. Method acting, otherwise known as the Stanislavski method, is widely practiced. In fact, most acting techniques are based on this system in which character development is central. Actors are encouraged to study their character until they know them inside and out. The Meisner Technique. The Meisner Technique was derived from the system developed by the great Russian actor Konstantin Stanislavski. It was developed by Sanford Meisner, Stella Adler, and Lee Strasberg. These teachers advocated the use of more natural techniques to bring out emotions and characteristics of the role being played, believing this would establish portrayals more fluid than those of hundreds of years ago. They put value in the authenticity and delivery of movement so that the audience's emotions would be more easily affected. Most common acting terminologies. The following is a list of common terms you might hear from directors and producers in the business. Activity. Actions a character must make when playing a role. Behaviour. Although subjective, the general behaviour of certain characters exists so that actors will recognise what's expected of a role. Objective. The character's ultimate goal. Lucidity. A character's clarity. Bind. A character's conflict, a binding circumstance that limits a character and which the character cannot break free from without considerable damage. Character, the role's personality. Conflict, problematic circumstances that need to be overcome by the characters, usually opposing a positive objective. Premise, value of the play. Tension, the conflict portrayed. Transfer, movement of weight from one part of the body to the other. Extension, extending of appendages to a certain level to emphasize movement. Intention, tensed movements of the body. Isolation, moving certain parts of the body only. Interval, the distance between performers. Release, relaxation of performers after tension. Empathy, the audience's reaction to a performance.